police believe he was the man who stepped behind Thompson on a Manhattan sidewalk last week.
Do not celebrate the assassination of another human being who was just doing his job.
The people in these higher positions, like CEOs, they need to look at themselves and their company. Why are they so willing to call someone who supposedly killed another human being a hero?
Don't make a folk hero out of this cat.
And it's odd that he would be a folk hero.
They're treating him like a folk hero.
As a folk hero for the people.
I think he'll go down as a hero in history.
Hear me on this. He is no hero.
A Facebook post that was put up by UnitedHealthcare expressing sadness about the CEO's death. It received 62,000 reactions, and 57,000 of them were laughing emojis.
I find it really bizarre when people kind of romanticize these people. There's got to be a term for that. Is there some sort of pathology that describes why people do?
He really has a strong message he wants to share, and I don't think he thinks he's done sharing that yet.
What was he really trying to do and say? Not that we need to try to understand that.
That's my point. Is where
are we at with him? What's going on with him? Who is he?
Blair 911, what is the address of your emergency? It's not really an emergency. I have a customer here that some other customers were suspicious of, that he looked like the CEO shooter from New York. Okay.
He was 26 years old. An Ivy League valedictorian. Son of one of Baltimore's most respected families. The kind of young man whose life looked like it had been sculpted straight out of the American dream. A $37,000 a year private school, a University of Pennsylvania degree, a tech career in Silicon Valley, 6 months surfing and reading philosophy on the beaches of Hawaii. His friends said he was destined for greatness. His professors said he was brilliant. His classmates said he was charming, kind, athletic, someone who had everything going for him. But on the cold morning of December 4, 2024, Luigi Nicholas Mangione was not sitting in a boardroom or writing code. He was standing on a Manhattan sidewalk just outside the New York Hilton Midtown, wearing a gray backpack and a black face mask. Inside that backpack, a 3D printed ghost gun with a homemade silencer. A spiral notebook filled with months of meticulous planning. A fake New Jersey ID. A passport. And $10,000 in cash. He had been waiting for one man. A man he had never met. A man he had decided, quietly, rationally, methodically, deserved to die. And when that man walked out of the hotel and onto the sidewalk, Luigi Mangione shot him in the back. Twice. Brian Robert Thompson was born on July 10, 1974, in the small town of Jewell, Iowa. A farm boy made good, the kind of genuinely American success story that people like to tell at fundraising dinners.
Yes, sir. There you go. Hey, put your mask down real quick for me? Yeah, sure. Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay. What's your name?
Mark.
What is it?
Mark.
Mark?
Yes, sir.
Mark what?
Rosario.
Rosario? Someone called, they thought you were suspicious.
Oh, okay.
Do you have your ID on you?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Thanks. Probably should look like someone, feel free to give me a run. Where are you from? 26, 27, 29 out of New Jersey. Romeo 6807 521 07982. Should come back to a Mark Rosiano.
I believe was responsible for the UnitedHealthcare CEO Pew Pew. His name's Luigi. All I can say is, Mamma mia, does he need a Mario? I'm kidding. I believe it was a great philosopher and poet once said, Mama, I'm in love with a criminal. And this type of love isn't rational, it's physical. That was Britney Spears. And I believe we're all feeling that right now. I believe if you're gonna do superhero-like shit, you better look like one, okay? This man clearly did that. Did he train at the Marvel Studios with all the other Chris's, okay? Because Luigi, That's a spicy meatball. I'm so sorry. I believe if we're going to claim to be a Christian nation, that we need to act like one. And part of acting like that is practicing forgiveness. And after a lot of seconds of thinking, I've decided I'm going to forgive him. I'm ready to forgive him, right? But not forget, because, I mean, my God, how could you forget an angel like this? I'm not going to lie. For a while, I thought, oh my God, we're never going to find him, you know? And I was wrong. Because somewhere along the way, the ups and downs, the highs and lows, the masks and no masks, this man, he found a way into our hearts.
He worked his way up through college, got an MBA from the University of Minnesota, and eventually found himself at UnitedHealth Group, one of the largest corporations in the United States. He had worked within the company for 20 years. He became CEO of UnitedHealthcare, the insurance arm, in 2021. By 2024, under his leadership, UnitedHealthcare covered roughly 49 million people and generated billions in profit every year. He was a husband and a father of 2 teenage sons. On December 4, 2024, Thompson had traveled to New York City for UnitedHealth Group's annual investor conference at the Hilton Midtown. He was walking alone from the hotel entrance toward the conference venue at 6:44 in the morning. It was barely light out. Surveillance footage shows a masked figure stepping out of the shadows and approaching Thompson from behind. The figure raises a weapon. There are 2 shots. Thompson stumbles, falls to the ground, and does not get up. The shooter walks away calmly, no running, no panic, and disappears around a corner. Brian Thompson was pronounced dead at the hospital shortly after.
Mask. One of them said people in Altoona do not wear masks. As soon as he took that mask down, that officer Detweiler said he was sure that it was the shooter from New York that people had been looking for. They then got that ID from him. Obviously, that was not his real name. He identified himself as Mark Rosario, and they ran at Errol. Ultimately, they used that fake ID to take him into custody. They brought him in on forgery charges for giving them false identification, but it also allowed them to keep him there. They questioned him for about 20 minutes, gathering information, and this is what's really at issue.
He was 50 years old. The crime scene was a puzzle, but a puzzle with deliberately placed pieces. Police recovered 3 spent shell casings on the sidewalk. And on each one, words had been etched into the brass: delay, deny, depose. If you've ever dealt with a health insurance claim that was denied, delayed, or fought tooth and nail, those 3 words probably mean something to you. They're a direct reference to a 2010 book called Delay, Deny, Defend by Rutgers law professor Jay Feinman, which outlined the insurance industry's systemic strategies for avoiding paying out claims. Those words had been circulating online for years, attached to memes and rage posts about denied surgeries, delayed treatments, and patients who had died waiting for approvals. Someone had taken the time to engrave them on bullets before going to commit murder. Investigators also found that the shooter had checked into a Manhattan hostel under a fake identity, the name Mark Rosario, on a forged New Jersey driver's license. He had left DNA evidence at a nearby Starbucks. And just before arriving in New York, he had taken a Greyhound bus from Atlanta. He had been in the area for 10 days before pulling the trigger. 10 days. This was not a crime of passion. This was a plan. NYPD released surveillance footage within hours. The image went everywhere, a masked, hooded figure with a gray backpack, captured from multiple angles across Midtown Manhattan. The manhunt became one of the most watched police chases in recent American memory. Tips flooded in. More than 200 of them from across the country. None of them led anywhere. Then police found something even more disturbing, a discarded backpack near Central Park containing, among other things, Monopoly money and a half-eaten protein bar. Nobody has ever conclusively explained the Monopoly money. Was it a taunt? A symbol? A comment on capitalism? Nobody knows. For 5 days, the shooter was a ghost. And then, a McDonald's. In Altoona, Pennsylvania. A small city 280 miles west of New York. A customer was sitting quietly at a table, eating his meal, a hat pulled low over his face. Another customer glanced up at the television.
I'm going to say bipolar hypomania, something in that zone.
He pictures himself, I think, as a savior, as a folk hero for the people. He's a superhero like Batman, going to conquer evil and seek good. That really points to some real mental health issues.
This man is seriously disturbed. I'm going to say bipolar hypomania, something in that zone, maybe even something more severe in terms of his thought disturbance. And we need to talk realistically about human behavior and not have this fantasy.
Police had been broadcasting the surveillance images around the clock, then glanced back at the man at the table. Looked again. Called over an employee. The employee called 911. Altoona police arrived at the restaurant. They approached the man. One officer would later testify, "I saw his fingers shaking a little bit." The man gave officers a fake New Jersey ID. But he was already caught. His real name was Luigi Nicholas Mangione. And the gun in his backpack matched the one used to kill Brian Thompson. Here is where the story becomes genuinely difficult to process. Luigi Mangione was born on May 6, 1998, in Towson, Maryland. From the very first page of his life, he was wrapped in privilege, but not the gaudy, flashy kind. The old money, understated, quietly powerful kind. His grandfather was Nicholas Mangione Sr.
No respect for our cultural norms, and people believe that they should be able to take matters into their own hands.
The idea that this kid is a revolutionary in the eyes of anybody tells me that we have disconnected from reality. And
we certainly shouldn't talk him as a vehicle for a larger civic conversation. He's a murderer.
You're going to find that he has a serious mental illness. Common sense has gone somewhere into outer space.
A first-generation Italian-American who had grown up dirt poor in Baltimore's Little Italy neighborhood, the son of immigrants, surviving on flour bags donated by a local church. But after serving in the United States Navy during World War II, Nick Mangione came home and built one of the most successful business empires in Maryland history. Country clubs. Nursing homes. A radio station. Real estate developments across the state. The crown jewel, Turf Valley Resort. A sprawling luxury retreat outside Baltimore with a 220-room hotel, a 10,000-square-foot ballroom, and an 85-seat amphitheater. When Nicholas Sr. died in 2008, the Baltimore Sun described him as a self-made millionaire, a philanthropist, and a pillar of the community. The family had donated over $1 million to hospitals, universities, and Catholic charities. There is a Mangione Family Aquatic Center at Loyola University. A wing at the Greater Baltimore Medical Center bears their name. One of Luigi's cousins, Nino Mangione, was a Republican member of the Maryland House of Delegates. His sister was a physician. His father ran the family real estate business. Luigi himself attended Gilman School, one of Baltimore's most elite all-boys preparatory schools, with annual tuition of approximately $37,000. He played soccer, wrestled, ran cross-country. He taught himself to code in middle school and as a teenager co-founded an iOS game development company. He also interned at Firaxis Games, the Maryland studio behind Civilization VI, where his LinkedIn proudly noted he had fixed 300 bugs. In 2016, Luigi Mangione stood before the assembled students, parents, and faculty of Gilman School and delivered the valedictorian speech. He praised his teachers. He thanked parents for the far from small financial investment they had made in their children's education. Classmates remembered it as gracious and humble.
They are not connected to human reality. We're getting this portrait of a family with enormous wealth, influence, and power.
This is a rich kid from wealth and privilege.
Obviously, I mean, and it should go without saying that a murder like this is just unbelievably tragic, and he has a family, and it's completely uncalled for, full stop.
This morning, back pain is no justification for murder, but it is one piece of information swirling around the background of Luigi Mangione, the man behind bars.
Most of us have seen his social media where there is an x-ray of a spine with some screws in it.
So we're looking into whether or not the insurance industry either denied a claim from him or didn't help him out to the fullest extent.
I think it's relevant to what drives him in terms of his ideology, because it could be
that this was an act of domestic terrorism, that he's trying to affect social change through violence.
We know UnitedHealthcare has already been the focal point of ire for Congress because it's vertically integrated. They're buying up doctors' offices. They own the largest PBM, which controls the price of prescription drugs in the country. They're the most aggressive on denying claims. I think UnitedHealthcare will get more scrutiny.
Yeah, and of course we don't know the motivation yet of this killer. We just know that these two words were found on these bullet casings.
This has surfaced a lot of anger.
People are viscerally angry about insurance.
An outpouring of anger around the way people have been treated.
People are mad at healthcare companies, very mad. And
people are really frustrated at the cost of insurance.
The anger and frustration over the state of healthcare.
Clearly, this conversation needs to be happening. That is why the public is rising up.
Rage against healthcare.
There is something real here. There's pent-up anger and emotion and passion.
It's been going on and bottling up for a long time.
We do have income inequality. We do have a society that's been divided, and we do have a large segment of this population that feels like not that they can't get rich, but that there is a systemic cap on their ability to reach the rich. And all I will say is, from the French and on through society, when you have a percentage of your population that feels stagnated, it's disaffected, and it does turn to civil discord and potentially violence.
Quite honestly, he had everything going for him, one former classmate told NBC News after his arrest. From Gilman, Mangione went to the University of Pennsylvania, one of the Ivy League's most selective schools. He earned both a bachelor's and a master's degree in computer science and mathematics. He was a member of Phi Kappa Psi fraternity. He was inducted into the Electrical and Computer Engineering Honor Society. He founded Penn's first game development club, which grew to 60 members. He interned at Johns Hopkins Robotics. He worked a summer at Stanford. After graduating in 2020, he moved to California, took a job as a data engineer at TrueCar in Santa Monica, and then, in early 2022, he moved to Hawaii. Honolulu, Hawaii. January 2022. Luigi Mangione moved into Surfbreak, a $2,000 a month co-living space for remote workers perched on the edge of Waikiki. He surfed. He read Dostoevsky. He hiked. He posted photos on social media of himself tanned, smiling, effortlessly happy. To anyone looking from the outside, it was a perfect life. But underneath, something was breaking. Mangione had been dealing with health problems for years: Lyme disease, brain fog, other chronic issues he had written about online since his college days. And now, in Hawaii, he had a back problem that was getting worse. He was diagnosed with spondylolisthesis, a condition where one vertebra slips forward over the one below it. In his case, the slippage was serious, nearly half an inch, pressing directly on a major nerve. The pain was constant and severe. He couldn't surf without aggravating it. He couldn't sit for long. He couldn't date. Everything that had brought him to Hawaii was being dismantled piece by something happening inside his own spine. His friend and Surfbreak founder R.J. Martin later told CNN.
I tried death penalty cases throughout my career. If there was ever a death case, this is one. This guy's charged with a violent crime, and we're going to seek the death penalty whenever possible.
He's a young man, and he is being treated like a human ping pong ball between two warring jurisdictions here.
This week on HBO, in a documentary, I see the chief of detectives and the New York City mayor, full hair and makeup done, sitting down and giving an interview for television and talking about the evidence in Luigi's case, talking about police paperwork that we don't have, talking about forensics that we have not yet received. I guess we have now today, but I didn't when I was sitting there learning about the case, hearing an actor play Luigi reading from a journal that they say is Luigi's, and we have yet to receive it from the prosecution.
He knew that dating and being physically intimate with his back condition wasn't possible. I remember him telling me that, and my heart just breaks. In July 2023, Mangione underwent spinal fusion surgery, a procedure involving large titanium rods and screws drilled directly into the vertebrae. He texted Martin a photo of the X-ray afterward. Martin's response was immediate: it looked heinous. Just giant screws going into his spine. Multiple neurosurgeons who later analyzed the X-ray publicly suggested the procedure appeared suboptimal, that the hardware positioning could have left Mangione with continued nerve pain even after the surgery. And then, silence. After the surgery, Luigi Mangione went completely dark. He stopped replying to texts. He deleted his social media. He disappeared from Surf Break. His family filed a missing persons report. A school friend posted publicly online. Nobody has heard from you in months, and apparently your family is looking for you. Nobody knew where he was. For over a year, Luigi Mangione simply ceased to exist in anyone's view. Whatever was happening inside his mind during those months, whatever he was reading, planning, building, has never been fully accounted for. When police searched Mangione at that McDonald's in Altoona, they found more than a gun and a fake ID. They found a 3D, printed ghost gun, untraceable by design. A 3D, printed silencer, also homemade. A passport. $10,000 in cash, $2,000 of it in foreign currency. Blue surgical masks. And 2 documents that would become central to the entire case. The first was a handwritten manifesto, 262 words, 3 pages, addressed to law enforcement. The second was a spiral-bound notebook containing detailed planning notes, to-do lists, and a meticulous operational outline. In the notebook, Mangione referred to the UnitedHealthcare Investor Conference as the annual parasitic bean counter convention. He wrote that he intended to whack the CEO. He wrote that a bomb was a poor plan because it could kill innocents. He wrote that his chosen method was targeted, precise, and doesn't risk innocents. In the manifesto, he opened by telling investigators the case would be straightforward, because he had acted alone. He wrote, this was fairly trivial. Some elementary social engineering, basic CAD, a lot of patience. Basic CAD. Computer-aided design. The same skills he had developed building video games as a teenager. He had designed his own murder weapon. The manifesto was not the unhinged raving of a man who had snapped. It was calm. Organized. Even self-aware. Mangione acknowledged he was not a healthcare policy expert. He pointed to a simple, devastating statistic.
Luigi Mangione is sitting in a Pennsylvania jail cell this morning, but before his arrest in Altoona Monday, police say the suspect's most recent address was in Hawaii. That's where R.J. Martin says he met Mangione in 2022 when the engineer and UPenn grad interviewed for a spot at his co-living community. Martin says Mangione spearheaded a book club and wanted to surf, but ran into roadblocks because of intense back pain. He says at points, the Maryland native had a hard time sitting up straight and struggled to have intimate relationships. An archived version of Mangione's now deleted Reddit account showing the suspect wrote that he had sciatica and low back pain. Also posting about brain fog. In 2018 writing, it is absolutely brutal to have such a life-halting issue that wears down the critical, logical thinking mind, adding that others don't understand his symptoms. Martin says he last checked in on his friend about 9 months ago and found out he'd undergone back surgery, with the 26-year-old sending him an x-ray. Those who knew Mangione reacting.
I just remember him as always being a kind, well-liked person. I just can't imagine what drove him to this.
Many who knew him expressing surprise, not only at the charges, but how it could take 5+ days for his capture with such an extensive network of friends nationwide and a family with a significant public profile. And yet, it took a complete stranger to ID him at a McDonald's. Now many in Mangione's life left with lots of questions, but few answers.
The United States has the most expensive healthcare system in the world, yet ranks approximately 42nd globally in life expectancy. He described UnitedHealth Group as one of the largest companies in America, growing and growing while the health of Americans had not. He wrote that these companies had simply gotten too powerful and continued to abuse our country for immense profit because the American public has allowed them to get away with it. And then, frankly, these parasites simply had it coming. He closed by saying, "I do apologize for any strife or traumas, but it had to be done." One more detail, noted almost in passing by investigators, among the books on Mangione's Goodreads profile was Ted Kaczynski's Manifesto, the Unabomber's political treatise. Mangione had given it 4 stars. On December 10, 2024, one day after his arrest. Luigi Mangione appeared at the Blair County Courthouse in Hollidaysburg, Pennsylvania, for his extradition hearing. As officers escorted him toward the entrance, past a crowd of cameras and reporters, he began shouting, "It's completely out of touch and is an insult to the intelligence of the American people and their lived experience." He was shoved through the door by officers. He pleaded not guilty to all charges. He was extradited to New York City on December 19, 2024. In February 2025, he appeared in a Manhattan courtroom in civilian clothes. He wore a burgundy merino wool crewneck sweater from Nordstrom. Within 24 hours, the sweater had sold out in every size. Nordstrom announced a restock. Searches for Luigi Mangione sweater and Luigi Mangione loafers spiked by 1,400% and 500% respectively. About 24 female supporters attended that hearing in person. Some cried. What happened after Luigi Mangione's arrest was something that had never quite happened before in American true crime history. Yes, many Americans were horrified. Brian Thompson had a wife and 2 sons who would never see him again. His death was not an abstraction. But a vast, vocal, genuinely surprising portion of the public reacted with something far more complicated than horror. The hashtag #FreeLuigi was shared over 50,000 times within days. Memes flooded every platform. People made t-shirts, mugs, keychains, and phone cases with his face. Etsy and Amazon issued takedown notices for merchandise that glorified violence. A billboard appeared in Riverside County, California, expressing support. A mural went up in Seattle. His fellow inmates at SCI Huntington in Pennsylvania were heard shouting, "Free Luigi," from their cells during a live news broadcast. A GoFundMe for his legal defense was removed by the platform. A GiveSendGo page stayed live and raised over $1.4 million. Donors cited frustrations with the healthcare system, opposition to the death penalty, and concerns about due process. On Valentine's Day 2025, Mangione released his first public statement through his legal team. He said he had been overwhelmed by the support. Ryan Murphy, the producer behind Monster and Dahmer on Netflix, publicly signaled interest in adapting the story. A satirical musical called Luigi. The musical premiered in San Francisco in June 2025, sold out its run, and traveled to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. The Chinese retailer Shein listed an AI-generated image of Mangione modeling a men's shirt for $11.69. It sold out. Shein called it a vendor error. Here is the detail that stops everyone cold when they hear it for the first time. A senior NYPD official confirmed, after investigation, that there is no evidence Luigi Mangione was ever a patient of UnitedHealthcare. The company did not insure him. There is no indication he personally had a claim denied, a surgery delayed, or a treatment refused by the company he targeted. He may not have done this for himself. He may have done it for a feeling. A rage that had been building inside him as he lay recovering from back surgery, reading about what insurance companies were doing to people across the country. A rage that found its shape in a notebook, its instrument in a 3D printer, and its target in one man walking out of a hotel. Brian Thompson did not create the American healthcare system. He was one man running one company inside a system thousands of people had built over decades. But he was the one who walked out that door on December 4, 2024. And Luigi Mangione was waiting. Luigi Mangione is being prosecuted across 3 separate jurisdictions simultaneously. In New York State, the trial is scheduled to begin June 8, 2026. He faces second-degree murder, criminal possession of a weapon, and possession of a forged instrument, with the top charge carrying a maximum of 25 years to life. In federal court, Attorney General Pam Bondi announced in April 2025 that the Justice Department would seek the death penalty. But on January 30, 2026, federal judge Margaret Garnett dismissed the murder charge and the firearms charge. The 2 counts that had made the case death penalty eligible. The federal trial is now scheduled to begin with jury selection on September 8, 2026. Federal prosecutors confirmed they will not appeal the death penalty ruling. In Pennsylvania, firearms and forgery charges remain pending. Mangione has pleaded not guilty to every single charge. When a judge recently scheduled his state and federal trials back-to-back, Mangione turned to the gallery as he was led from the courtroom and said, "It's the same trial twice. Let me say this clearly, before we end. Brian Thompson did not deserve to die. He was a father. A husband. A man walking to a work meeting on a Tuesday morning. Whatever one thinks of the insurance industry, whatever rage one might feel toward a system that denies chemotherapy, delays surgeries, and lets people die over paperwork, the man on that sidewalk was not the entire system. He was a person. And the people who loved him will never get him back." Luigi Mangione is not a hero. He made a deliberate, premeditated, calculated choice to take a human life. The notebook. The 10 days of surveillance. The fake IDs. The 3D printed weapon. This was not a breakdown. This was a decision. But this case has ripped something open in America. A wound that was already there, already infected, already bleeding, and now impossible to ignore. A rage so widespread, so personal, so deeply felt by so many millions of ordinary people who have sat on hold with insurance companies, received denial letters, watched loved ones be denied treatments, that when one young man allegedly acted on it, a chorus of people who would never do what he did, who are horrified that he did it, nonetheless felt a flicker of something they couldn't quite name. And that, maybe more than anything else, is the most disturbing part of the Luigi Mangione story. Not that one man did it. But that so many people understood why.
I think this is that guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
Oh, he killed somebody. He's a murderer. No, he's a vigilante hero.
He was on display for everyone to see in the biggest staged perp walk I've ever seen in my career.
Luigi, why did you kill Brian Thompson?
The Luigi Mangione shooting is not just about healthcare. It is about crimes against humanity that are happening at the highest level in boardrooms.
Listen, I get it. CEOs have stressful jobs, but can anybody tell me in what world it makes sense to pay them 3,700 times more than the people who are actually doing the work that makes them the money?
It's also interesting that someone gave up a promising life to make a valid point in this country against corporate greed.
Hey there, Luigi, while I can't condone the violence, I know change is gonna come, and we won't all sit here in silence anymore.
Luigi Mangione is a hero. Honestly, he did what a lot of people say they would do, but he did it.
Luigi Mangione, this whole corporate capitalist takedown is just, oh my God.
It's an oligarchy. We live in an oligarchy. Stop defending the people who would let you die if it lines their pockets.
Do you know how many times I've cried with and for patients in the 10 years I've been doing my job because they couldn't receive the care that they need? Who? I'll see you in hell, Brian.
He's a young man, and he is being treated like a human ping pong ball between two warring jurisdictions here.
What do you guys think of Luigi Mangione?
Woo! Oh, zoom in.
Look at that.
Oh, he's so hot.
Mama, I'm in love with a criminal. Luigi, hope your cell's clean, and I know that if it wasn't clean, I would clean it for you while you do self-care.
Luigi represents the mindset that we've all had, either at one point or another, or our entire adult lives in America. He embodies everything that we've been thinking, everything that we've been wanting to do. He represents that mindset.
They charged Luigi Mangione with an act of terrorism, and I'm trying to figure out who he terrorized. I feel fine.
Why does America's sweetheart Luigi not have the biggest, most insane record-setting GoFundMe account set up for his legal fees?
This man has done evil things, and then something evil happened to him. In all reality, let's just call it karma and wrap it up.
The rich! Eat the rich! Eat the rich! Free Luigi!
Mangione, is he a villain or is he a hero?
He's a hero. Sometimes you gotta be the villain to be the hero.
He's the man. I'm Italian. All power to the people. Say Luigi.
Smash or pass, Luigi Mangione.
Smash. Smash and smash again.
Okay, Luigi is hot. He really is. And he's innocent too.
He's so hot. Him walking around in the orange jumpsuit, like with a bunch of cops surrounding him. He cares about the injustice in the world. So hot.
So in regards to this Luigi Mangione case, I got something to say to all the people that are trying to defend him. This is not the right way. I understand you want change, but this is not the right way.
He was on display for everyone to see in the biggest staged perp walk I've ever seen in my career.
Hear me on this. He is no hero.
What I worry about is sort of glorification or the cult status that he may be reaching amongst those who may not like healthcare or the way healthcare is run in this country.
I was flabbergasted at the crowd out there that were cheering.
This Ivy League hottie named Luigi is the Robin Hood that we never knew that we needed.
Regular everyday person becoming our hero, our vigilante.
Symbolic takedown in a direct challenge to alleged corruption